Hello guys, welcome to ProRPA.com. Today we're going to talk about image automation. So, specifically from UiPath perspective, whenever we talk about image automation, the first thing that should come to our mind is virtual environments. Because image automation plays a crucial role in automating processes that involve any sort of interaction with the virtual environments or Citrix machines. Why? Well, because when you're interacting with a local desktop application, you can directly interact with its UI elements. That's the sophistication feature we have in the current RPA tools, right? But in terms of the virtual environments, the whole operating system or the screen that is visible to us actually acts like a big image, or it's like a live streaming that's going on. And we can perform operations and everything, but you have an image in front of you. You're not sort of working in the environment. You're working on its image, which is interactive for sure, but within the UiPath or within RPA, you have to use image automation techniques to perform any sort of operations and computations, right? So in this exercise, we're gonna use one of the major applications that provide virtual environments, which is TeamViewer. So I have this machine open. It's my other laptop, and we have a few applications here like this, right? And what we want to do is we want to see how the image automation works, right? So rather than using these activities, which are of course fine, but I'm gonna show you the better way to make the bot creation process even more simplified. Right? Why go through the whole lengthy process when you have a sort of a shortcut, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the recording and we go to the Citrix recording. We have been to the recording chapters before, so if you haven't checked it out, I recommend you go look at it, because we have talked about the way the selectors work and how the recording features for different environments work all together, right? And I'm not gonna go through each and every specifics in here because I'm assuming that you read through the articles and you're pretty proficient in the recording chapter. So let's go. All right. So as you can see in Citrix recording, we also discussed this back then. We don't have a direct recording functionality right here, but we do have these activities, right? So one would say that, what's the point of having activities in a recording feature when you have, if you don't have the actual recording feature where you can just perform the operations and the corresponding workflows generated automatically in the backend by the tool itself. Well, this example is gonna give you a very good, explanation of why that is. Okay, so see, these are pretty common ones. So I'm not gonna go through these, but these two are like specific to the image automations. First is click image. Pretty simple, right? You have to, and that's not limited to the virtual environment. That can be anything. But let's say you want to click image, and I don't know. You can click on any image, right? You want to click on this image, something like this, right? And do you want, actually, you know what? Let's cancel this down. I have this AnyTeller, this application open. How about this? I'm going to show you an even better example. We click image, and we want to click on this image, right? Now, it asks that, it's also like by default, it's going to click at the center of the chosen image, right? Why? Because that's what we have, like, sort of, that's the default value. What you can do is, because in this case, if it's also pointing to the center, this bubble sort of thing, this window thing is pointing to the center, which is where we want to click to, write our cash in value for this application, right? Could be any dollar amount. So you can hit OK, or you can indicate in like to which point within this image or within this region you want your click operation to be performed, right? You can hit on this indicate and you can select, let's say, this one. It's not exactly going to be the center, it's here. Okay, let's save. This sequence has been generated, and I'll show you what exactly happened. This click image activity got generated, and it automatically set out these offsets, the X and Y coordinates for that chosen image. So that made our work way easier. I'm sure if you guys would have done it manually, it would have been really, really difficult or close to impossible for you guys to look out for the coordinates where you want the click operation to be performed, right? And now what I can do is I can simply use this type into activity, and I can choose the whole screen because my input operation is going to go to the whole screen because that's the image, right? And I can put anything, any dollar amount, dollar, I don't know, 250, right? And right there, just I'm running the program, and let's see if it works out. 250, right? Let's take another example, right, where we let's say we have, okay, we're gonna add another sequence where what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on this split deposit. So first and foremost, what you want to do is, I think we have to put it on the center. That should be okay. Okay, doesn't matter. Right here. So what's going to happen is you can see that operation did work out when I was selecting the element as well. But what it's going to do is you can always check the behavior of your application, and that's not just this concept is not limited to the virtual environments, but anywhere. Like if you even click on the withdrawal this label, it's automatically selecting the radio element, right? So even if your bot is able to somehow scrape this data or get to this data and perform the click operation on it, that should work. So again, another, those are like sort of the workarounds that you might have to find out to get a working solution for your problem, right? So we have this this deposit, right? And we have the cache in also, the stage that we have already chosen. Let's just connect them. It doesn't matter. Just run this and let's see if our bot is able to. So it printed this 250 and it printed that the split deposit is also there, right? So that's how the click image activity works. And it was pretty easy, pretty neat, pretty sophisticated as well. I'm gonna show you another quick example for the next activity, which is the most, again, usually common one in terms of the image automations. This is, again, and you can see, right, if you would have done that manually, the offsets wouldn't have been there. So that's where the recording features play a really, really crucial role, even in terms of using these stages from the recording controller, right? Okay. Let's use the second activity, which is in here, which is called click text, right? So what this is gonna do is, let's say you already have the like ways or a working solution to print the cache-in values and to select the split deposit and probably other computations that you can form, right, for any sample application. But you would want to start by clicking or double clicking on the application to start it. That's gonna be like the launching of application would be your first and the foremost step, right? Or your bot to be able to perform that. So you just a quick example I'm taking. You click text, and what click text does is it scrapes the data using the OCR, or in the in the UI element interaction method we discussed the three different output methods. So it scrapes data out of those three using those three methodologies or technologies, but usually it's going to be OCR because for image automations we only have OCR method to scrape data out of it, right? So we have the scraping method as OCR, and here are like these two or three different this is the scrape result, right? And these are the engines. We have the Google and the Microsoft by default, and we gotta play around with this, right? We gotta change a few things and see if we can get a better scraping result preview. Let's try this out. And you can see may have got a little better, but any telet and tramming orders are still, not up to the mark. So let's try this out as well. I'm gonna try the other engines too, but this doesn't seem too much of text, so that's more for like large automations. I'm gonna tell you another thing. Another good thing which I just recalled is whenever you're working on a virtual environment machine, it's always a good approach to maximize your screen. Why? Because you might be sending some inputs and there's a possibility, very slight possibility, although not gonna happen in most cases, but your input may go to the local desktop rather than the virtual machine. Usually that happens when you are sending the access modifier keys or the keyboard shortcuts, right? Even like if you try doing the Control Alt Delete, it might go into the local system and it's gonna ask for like the task manager and all that stuff. So you want to work on the virtual machine, it's better to maximize it so that most of the operations are gonna go there. There might be more workarounds. You can always play around and get to know these different things. So getting back to the UiPath one, let's select the UI element again, which is the whole screen in here. OCR always takes a lot of time, because it's scraping by looking at each and every pixel value, trying to get data out of it. So it's always gonna take time, right? So what it sees is, I think the result is much better because now you can see any teller dot dot dot, which is how it is showing on the screen as well. So there's nothing that can be done. Same is the case with training order as well, right? And what you're gonna do is, sorry. You're searching for the text training throughout this whole scraping result using these parametric values, right? And I'm trying to launch the application training order. Or let's do with the AnyTeller itself because that's what we have been working on, right? Let's do this. Should work. Or you can put 3 dots as well. Shouldn't matter. And you can always test click too to see if it works. Even if it doesn't, I would ask you to, go finish, save and exit and try running this for a few times before, giving it another shot. See, it did work. So it did click once on the AnyTeller application. Okay, so it's working good. Took some time, but that's how the image scraping and automations work. It might be a little slow, and we have discussed this theoretically in back in the OCR technology as well, that it's going to be slow. It could be unreliable as well because see, I don't know what this is, where this text is coming from, probably here, right? All these options that I have, which is like the Cortana and all that stuff. And because what, the technology is sophisticated, yes, no doubt in that, but it's trying to get meaningful data out of images. That's always going to be challenging, right? So this should be good. We have got the AnyTeller. Let's finish this. And again, it's taking a few minutes to open up the UiPath application and get the stage ready for it because OCR again is always slow. Let's wait for a few seconds. And here we got the recording controller, save and exit. And here's the recording sequence that has been generated, right? So what I'm gonna say is launch application, right? Let's set that as the start node. These two activities, you definitely should name them whatever they were doing. Like first was the cache in value, and the second one was split deposit, right? So we have a pretty good like a working solution where we haven't done much. We haven't done much of the drag and drop and stuff. We have just used recording features. You can imagine how easy it was. And well, I'm just saying way too much. Let's see if it works or not. But and there's a possibility it might not. I'm gonna tell you how, and I'm gonna also show you one or two other things. Just give me a second. Right. So first and foremost, again, the OCR engine is working where it's looking for the AnyTeller data, right? And actually, my bad. So if you see, I'll just stop the bot right away. So the single click is not gonna open the application, right? So what you're gonna do is you click on this OCR text or click on any activity, and the click type, instead of single, you have to make it double, right? And that way it's gonna go the double click way, and it's gonna open the application, and hopefully it will perform the other operations as well. Let's see if it works. I just saved it and ran it again, and the bot is running again through the OCR, trying to see if it works or not. Even if it's not, it's okay. It's gonna take time to build a reliable bot. You gotta practice, you gotta learn more and more stuff. So it opened the AnyTeller application. Is it gonna be able to look for the cache-in data? I'll tell you why. Because at that time, the element that we selected was a little slower, but the split difference didn't work somehow. Split deposit, right? This one did. Why? Technically, I mean, one worked, I'm happy about it, but you should create the bot under the same circumstances when the bot was initially, like, when the elements were selected at that time. They should be same or pretty much similar conditions when the bot is going to be running in most of the times. So, I don't know if that made sense. Let me make it more clear. At that time, when we selected the cache-in value and the split deposit option, we had the window under restored mode. It was smaller in size. Now, when we're launching the application, we have maximized the window. So what I'm going to ask you to do is always maximize the window first, then start the operations in a logical sequence, right? I'm sure it should be pretty easy, right? There should be shortcuts depending on the application you're using to interact with the remote server or the virtual server, virtual machine, and use those shortcuts, get the full screen mode, start working on this, and it should be relatively easy, right? Let's try and see if this works this time or not. So this one did work, so should be okay. For this one, clicking the image, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab it from the screen. I'm gonna select the image. Actually, no, this is way too big. I'm gonna select a smaller, something like this. See, because the font size may have changed, I don't know, there could be a lot of reasons. And you want to click on the sender? Yeah, that should be okay. And now again, I'm just gonna close this application and see if this time it works or not. And image automations, may take a lot of time for you to get used to it. It's always challenging. Still working. Still looking for the AnyTeller word or the data that has been scraped. It opened the AnyTeller. The image is here. It's looking for the cache-in, the value, and split deposit is done. Perfect. This time it worked fine, right? You gotta run it a couple more times to see if it works or not, and just play around with it. I'm sure it's gonna be it's gonna come intuitively, right? And you might have to play around a lot with the OCR data, because trust me, it's a beast. It's really, really difficult to tame it. So play on with it. There are two more activities that I have discussed. Image exists and on image appear. I can show a quick example of image exists. What it does is, so say, and I'll tell you, it's one of the ways to make your bot more robust. So say you launch the application, right? And you don't want any of your operations to go waste. By waste, I mean you wanted to put in cache-in values, right? And there's a possibility that the application which is helping you interact with the virtual environment, or any web application, desktop application. This case is not specific to, again, virtual ones, environment ones. But what happens is, say, once you open the AnyTailor application, it took, let's say, more than 30 seconds, right? So bot is gonna be either timed out, or it might perform the operation of writing and all that stuff somewhere in the black space, which is gonna be of no sense because you are working with the images, right? So what you may want to do is, you would want the bot to wait for some time for the application to open up. So how would it know? If it sees that this XYZ bank, this image is here, because that's a specific image based on this application, right? So you're gonna see, you don't want to use the timer in that screenshot because this timer is gonna change. But you use image exists, and you see that the all the subsequent operations will be performed only once the bot sees this XYZ image, right? And very simple, and nothing much. And what you gotta do is, you gotta put it after this activity, something like this, right here, right? So once the launch of the application is performed, it's gonna wait for this image to exist, and then the subsequent operations will be performed, right? So again, based on the images, you're able to make the bot more reliable by making it wait. And there could be like system constraints, like the application is slow. Usually when you're dealing with the web services, web applications, there's a possibility that your internet is very, very slow, and it's taking huge time for your website to open up. So you would want to put the image exists like more frequently, this activity, so that your bot waits for that image and performs accordingly. And also, the default, if it is like way too slow, I'm just making a very hypothetical use case here. If it is way too slow, then instead of the default timeout, you can put in some other timeout, right? You can put in like I don't know, for I don't know, you want to wait for 40 seconds or a minute or so, because as long as the image is going to be appearing, all the subsequent operations would be performed. So use that. It's like a checklist sort of thing, that the image exists, okay, check, let's go to the next activity and perform those operations, right? And similar is the case with the on image appearance, but the only difference is that it has a do sequence, and you can put all the underlying activities there, but other than that, it's both these activities are pretty much the same, right? Okay, this pretty much concludes this week's topic on image automation. I hope you guys liked it. Pretty easy, pretty sophisticated feature. You might have to play around again, I'm telling you, with the OCR technology. It could be a little challenging at first, but once you get a grip of it, it becomes easier, interesting, and enthralling. It's captivating. It's getting you into it. You are gonna get better into it, and it's gonna be really, really interesting for you to make more and more automations. Okay, I'm happy that you guys are giving a very good response on the books that I've posted recently. Please do comment, provide your feedback on those resources as well as on the blog. This keeps us more motivated, and makes us more enthralled and interested to post more and more stuff, and address any concerns you guys may have, and keeps us going. So I would really appreciate any of your feedback, and even if it is a negative one, please feel free to shoot out your thoughts, because that might help in us to improve and make the future videos more better in any way possible. Okay, and I also want to mention that we are gonna put out our Blue Prism book pretty soon, and along with the video courses, we are working on it very diligently throughout the week, day and night, literally burning the midnight oil. So stay posted, and happy automating. Thank you very much. Goodbye.